I am here with Attorney General Keith Ellison of the state of Minnesota. One, thank you for being here, Attorney General Ellison. Two, quick recap: Renee Good was shot and killed by an ICE officer on January 7th. Initially, the FBI offered to coordinate with the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension from Minnesota. They
Right.
then retracted that coordination. They now have access to the vehicle, shell casings, obviously testimonies with the officers. And a state probe has been opened up by your office, as well as Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty. She has said in a recent press conference that you do have jurisdiction and you can bring charges. The case is ongoing right now. Governor Tim Walz has told the National Guard to be prepared to deploy. And, sir, if you could fill us in on any other updates. I know you've also published a link for people in Minnesota to provide evidence, anything that they have seen. But if you could provide a quick update on things from your end, that would be great.
Well, Angry, you've done a good job laying it out. I mean, the bottom line is this. We have a tragic homicide. It is clearly a homicide, which just means death at the hands of another, of a Minnesotan, happened under circumstances where she was literally shot to death by an ICE agent. And we need to get to the bottom of it. We need the truth. And what the truth will do for us is help us communicate to the public, so that the public can have confidence that they are safe, that if people commit crimes, they'll be held accountable. If people don't commit crimes but commit violent acts that are legally justifiable, that will be known too. And so we need to do an investigation. Mary Moriarty is absolutely right. There is no absolute immunity for federal agents who commit crimes from accountability from state government. And we can imagine the absurdity if there were. So if a bunch of federal agents knock over a Popeyes, that's just all good? No, it isn't. What the law provides is that if the state charges a federal official with a crime, then that case could be removed from state court to federal court, which is to ensure that that federal agent would get due process rights. But there is no immunity. And there's the supremacy clause of the U.S. Constitution gives a limited immunity, which basically says, Angry, that if the officer's doing is on the job and doing their job, and if they're operating and if they're making decisions on the job which are proper and necessary, then they could have an immunity. But it's an open factual question as to whether or not Jonathan Ross was doing what was proper and necessary when he discharged his firearm 3 times into the car and body of Renee Good. And I think that it is a matter that potentially, based on the investigation results, could be presented to a grand jury or could be charged out by a complaint and prosecuted. I would expect that the defendant would then remove the case to federal court, and a case would proceed in that environment. But a lot of video has come out. A few things, Angry, I just want to say that are weird, anomalous, inconsistent, and that is that the Trump administration has said they won't share the investigative file, including shell casings, but they did release a video from the perspective of Jonathan Ross. So my thing is, are you releasing the file or not? Because you want to release the piece that you think is to your advantage, but by the way, I'm not convinced that they're accurate on that score. That particular video, I think, is open to it proves a number of points, some of which may not be advantageous to the potential defendant, Jonathan Ross. And so I also want to say that there's no statute of limitations on murder. So at some point, when there's no longer a Trump administration to block the good cause of justice, things this thing's not going away. So I would say that if they claim, so the president, vice president, and Christy Nome have said that Jonathan Ross did no wrong. Fine, let's get together and have a transparent, independent joint investigation. If you don't believe that, obviously you want to obstruct and prevent and frustrate justice. So those are some thoughts that are occurring to me right now, Angry, and thanks for asking.
No, absolutely. You brought up something that kind of triggered something in my brain. Can and have they ever? Can the federal government be charged with obstruction of justice in a state case? Because as you mentioned, they released part of the evidence, but they've been selective about that. How would that happen?
Well, what would happen is that you can charge a crime two ways in the state of Minnesota. You can assemble a grand jury and ask them, "Here's the facts. Here's the law. Should we charge?" And or you can prosecutor can charge out by complaint and basically swear that there's probable cause, and then you can take it before a judge, and the judge will decide whether or not the complaint is supported by probable cause. So you could do them either way. But as I said, there is no uh, a broad-based general immunity. There is no general immunity. There is no absolute immunity. There is this partial immunity based on the Supremacy Clause. And the way that the federal agents' rights are protected is through the removal, which is the legal process of taking a case out of state court and putting it in federal court. That's what the protection is. But people long before you or I ever got on the scene, Angry, knew that you can't have it. You can't tell people that no matter what they do, they're not going to be held accountable in a court. uh good behavior is one. Most people are going to be doing the right thing based on their moral bearing, but for people who need law to do the right thing, the court, the people, the framers of our legal system had thought about long ago that the remedy for a federal agent charged with a state crime, murder or obstruction, is that the case would be removed to the federal courtroom. And so that's what's up. So the answer is sure they can.
If they move it to a federal case, can they just drop the
No,
case? Or
no,
sorry.
because the state prosecutor would remain on the case.
Okay.
You follow me?
So
So
yep.
say theoretically, let's not use Jonathan Ross because the investigation is still ongoing. So I don't know if he'll be charged or not. So let's talk about theoretically Joe Schmo who
Yep.
did something. Um, if say for instance us state prosecutors charge Joe Schmo for committing a felony in the state of Minnesota, and Joe Schmo was a federal agent, then that case would be in the federal court, but the state authority would still be the prosecutor.
They
But
still have control.
the jurors would be drawn but they'd still be Minnesotans.
Yep.
But like if you charge somebody in Hennepin County, then the jury's going to be Hennepin County. If you charge somebody with a federal crime, then it probably would be drawn from southern Minnesota. And you could get people from Albert Lee on the jury or something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And once again, as you mentioned, and something that people should remember, there is no statute of limitations on murder.
Believe that. Hey,
Yep.
write it down. It's true.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sir, I absolutely value your time. I have one minor question before you go. I know you're doing a lot of things and we appreciate it. What can Minnesotans do? What can people of this country do to help find justice for Renee Good?
I'm going to list a few things, man. Number one, talk about the good this woman did. She died trying to safeguard the interests of the most vulnerable of her neighbors. She died. She had a 6-year-old child who she just dropped off for school. She had a wife who loved her. She had an ex-husband who respected her. She had a community that cared about her. She was she was a poet. So you don't have to be a good person to get justice in this world, but she was a good person. The other thing is it's okay for you to protest. We need you to protest safely, and understand that Trump is trying to get a justification to invoke the Insurrection Act. Don't give him one. Don't give him excuse to do that. And then the other thing is you can write to the Trump administration, you can write to Kristi Noem demanding that we have a joint investigation, pointing out that this is a normal routine practice. It would enhance people's confidence in the outcome of the investigation, but you can put pen to paper or keyboard to whatever and send that letter in via electronic or snail mail. And then, look, I don't know what you're into, but if you're out there listening to the show, Angry Show, if you write poems, write them. If you write songs, write them. Share your opinion, but for heaven's sake, don't think that justice is somebody else's business. And then also support Angry Show, y'all, out there, because independent media is what we got to have right now. Independent media is fundamental to democracy at this moment. And there's a reason why it's in the First Amendment, a free press. And it's because if the people know what's right, then they can do what's right. And that's why Trump is always talking about fake news and all of that bullshit. So I'll just leave it there. But Angry Male Vet, you are the man, and great to know you, man. And you let me know when you need me on. And thanks for your service to our country.
Absolutely. Attorney General Ellison, thanks again from everyone for what you're doing, and best of luck in finding justice for Renee Good. We really appreciate it. And I wish you a safe day.
You got it, brother. Keep it up.